I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, October the 8th, 2013. The IDF arrested 2 Palestinians from the West Bank village of Al-Bira this morning, suspected of being responsible for the shooting attack over the weekend that injured a 9-year-old girl from the settlement of Psagot. The 2 suspects are said to be close relatives. Some reported them as brothers who live in Al-Bira, which borders Psagot. And the IDF suspects that one of the men planned the attack while the other assisted in it. The 2 have been brought in for further questioning. 9-year-old Noam Glick suffered what is being described as a light gunshot wound Saturday night while she was outside in her yard, when, according to her father, Israel Glick, Noam surprised the terrorist and actually scared him so that instead of entering our house, he shot her. And the Jerusalem Post reports that the IDF fired on several Palestinians who were trying to breach the security fence near the Oranit checkpoint in the West Bank today. After spotting the group of Palestinians, the soldiers yelled out for them to stop, but their warnings went ignored. One Palestinian was injured during the incident and evacuated to a hospital in Israel. Ynet reports that Israeli and Palestinian officials held another round of peace talks in Jerusalem yesterday, where they agreed to step up negotiations. A senior Palestinian official told Reuters the intensity of the conversations went up and the sides agreed to extend the meetings to 8 hours a day and to increase their frequency. Within 2 months, he said, they will need to see in Washington how the unavoidable gaps between the sides have been minimized. While at the United Nations General Assembly last month, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry had said that both sides had agreed to intensify peace talks in order to reach a final status agreement. The funeral last night of Shas spiritual leader Rabbi Ovadia Yosef is thought to be the largest ever in Israel's history, with well over 800,000 people who gathered to mourn the 93-year-old former chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel. The huge crowds brought the city of Jerusalem to a near standstill, closing off many main roadways and overwhelming modes of transportation. Today in Jerusalem, a large mourning tent was set up outside Yosef's residence for the Shiva period, where hundreds of mourners stopped by already today to pay their respects, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli President Shimon Peres. And Jewish organizations here in the U.S. expressed their condolences for the rabbi. The Anti-Defamation League's National Director Abe Foxman called Yosef a towering rabbinic figure who left a lasting legacy for Sephardic Jews in Israel and for Jews across the world. While at the same time noting that Rabbi Yosef was not without controversy, Foxman said it is no secret that we disagreed with some of his statements in the past, which we considered intemperate and biased. Executive Vice President of the Rabbinical Assembly, Rabbi Julie Schoenfeld, released a statement saying Yosef will be remembered for his lifelong dedication to Torah, as well as his commitment to the community of Sephardim, which he led tirelessly. Hadassah, the Women's Zionist Organization of America, called Yosef a dedicated leader for tens of thousands of Jews throughout Israel and beyond. Hadassah also took the opportunity to thank the medical team at Hadassah Medical Organization at the Ein Karim Hospital in Jerusalem for their tireless work over the past weeks and months in caring for the rabbi during his final days. And American Jewish organizations also responded to the Women of the Wall's agreement to an egalitarian prayer section at the Western Wall. As we reported to you yesterday, the group, which fights for equal rights for women to pray freely at the holy site, agreed to a proposal that would establish an egalitarian section at the Western Wall Plaza under certain conditions, which relate to the design of the area and to the management of the prayer section, which the Women of the Wall have stated would have to be by a pluralistic board of Jewish leaders and not by Western Wall Rabbi Shmuel Rabinowitz. The Rabbinical Assembly of America and United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism released a joint statement commending Women of the Wall leader Anat Hoffman and all of the group's members for the decades of struggle. saying, "We know all too well that the search for compromise amidst the legitimate struggle for equality is difficult and painful. We look forward to working with Women of the Wall leadership and with the reform movement to clarify and implement these long-needed changes at the Kotel and to continue to work towards increased religious pluralism in Israel." National President of Hadassah, Marcy Natan, said recognizing that compromise is never easy, this acceptance represents an important step toward bringing together all of us who support a Western Wall that is a symbol of Jewish unity and diversity.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics to Professor François Englert at Université Libre de Bruxelles, Belgique, and Professor Peter Higgs at University of Edinburgh, United Kingdom.
A Tel Aviv University professor will share the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics. It was announced today that physicists François Englert of Belgium and Peter Higgs of Britain won the prize for their discovery of the Higgs particle, a mechanism said to be the understanding of mass of subatomic particles. Englert, who is 80, is a Belgian Jew who is a Sackler professor by special appointment in the School of Physics and Astronomy at Tel Aviv University. He's also a Holocaust survivor. The Jewish Book Council announced the names of 5 authors whose works were named finalists for the 2014 Sammy Rohr Prize for Nonfiction. The $100,000 prize, one of the largest literary prizes in the world, has been given annually since 2007, alternately considering works of fiction and nonfiction. This year's finalists for nonfiction are Sarah Boonin Benor, author of Becoming Frum, Marnie Davis for her book Jews and Booze, Mati Friedman for the Aleppo Codex, and Nina Spiegel for Embodying Hebrew Culture, and finally Eliyahu Stern for The Genius. The winner will be announced next month. In 2006, in celebration of the late philanthropist Sammy Rohr's 80th birthday, his children and grandchildren inaugurated the Rohr Prize for Jewish Literature to honor his lifelong love of Jewish writing. Last year's winner was Francesca Siegel for her novel, The Innocents. Siegel was a recent guest on Shalom TV talking about her prize-winning book. And tonight on Shalom TV, senior lecturer and researcher for Jerusalem Online University and Esh HaTorah, Rabbi Ken Spiro, joins Mark Golub on L'chaim at 9 o'clock. Spiro is also the author of World Perfect, The Jewish Impact on Civilization. That's tonight on L'chaim at 9, here on Shalom TV and shalomtv.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, October the 8th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.